I have like a confusion about the spontaneity or impulsive in between both. Many times I see myself being very natural and saying things that sometimes are the control towards the outside. I come up very natural, but I don't know if it's my spontaneity or my impulsivity. Has a difference? Can you explain?
Well, the thing is, whatever you're doing or saying is coming from you, no? You need to ascertain if it's coming from your stress, your need to control, if it's coming from fear, or it's just coming from a place of joy. You know, you're one of those people that just says without a filter. Okay, and then you regret. It's okay to have no filter, but then don't regret the consequences. So you need to be more present and speak from your heart, and if it serves, but without going into your head. But after this process, it'll be much easier because you won't be projecting. You know, most people have the opposite problem. They never say what they think. They edit things a million times. They're too afraid to speak their truth. And often when they finally do, they say things they don't even mean. So it's about just being here and coming from consciousness. You know, I never think before I speak. I don't evaluate the situation, but I don't have that experience of regretting afterwards. Okay, so you need to just trust more in your consciousness and let go of the control. You know, one of the greatest things is not needing to talk. The capacity to listen, that's a great freedom without the judgment. Just be there. I said that in Darshan yesterday. People want you to listen to them. They don't want you to fix them. And controllers are always fixing. And that comes from attachment. Always comes from attachment. So be conscious of that too. But appreciate your changes. Your energy's changed completely. And you have to see that. And you have to appreciate it. And it will continue to change. Even your fashion's improved. And that's a miracle, huh?
I'm super happy with what I achieved till this point. And I want to know that if there is a way of going backwards when you go out to the world, or there is a point where you cannot go backwards, actually. That's my question.
Okay, the first thing is you've got to stop equating everything. It's like you're grading yourself. And the minute you do that, you're getting into your head. And the fear comes. Where does the fear come from? Your head. You know, you have a choice in every moment. And it's not that you've grown. You've let go of what's not real. The essence of who you are has never changed. It's your human experience. Your fears, your ideas, your disqualifications, your perception of yourself. Now that's all leaving, And you're going to develop an emptiness. And you need to sit in that emptiness instead of jumping into your head. And no, you will not go backwards, whatever that means, because you've already let that stuff go. But your programs are still there. They'll be there until you die. But do you give them attention? Do you respond? Or are you sitting in your consciousness and saying no to your programs? Not even no, just laughing at them. Because they'll always be subtly there. So when those thoughts come, what am I going to do? You're going to use the facets, because that's the truth. Love creates me in my perfection. The judgments, oh, I'm going to go backwards. It's not going to love creates me in my perfection. And this is what you're starting to practice now. Becoming a master of your own consciousness. Not just being immature and responding of every pull of the puppeteer. Okay? And where's the puppeteer? Here. It's not important. This is important. Yeah?
Can you talk about perpetual consciousness? And how it's going to change our normal life outside? How we are going to feel different? How we are going to decide different when we achieve that experience?
So perpetual consciousness is exactly that. It's perpetual. That means it's permanent. It's permanent consciousness. And you sit there. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The capacity to be here and to witness the human experience. Not allowing it to pull you into the drama. Not allowing it to make you into a victim. And that's one of the most difficult things. The most important thing is the work you're doing now, so you have this permanent experience. You know, lots of different spiritual teachings, they say you have to be in the present moment. You have to be here now. You need to be mindful. Okay, but it's impossible. It's impossible. Because there's so much stress. And your minds are... That's why people take drugs. That's why we drink. To try to quieten this. Now you're moving all your stress. And you have an experience. You have a place to sit. And you have a tool that will lead to silence and just the witness. And that's perpetual. Just there. There. Choosing for the bit, oh, there. Waking up in the morning. Joy. Peace. Love. There. And you have to nurture that. You know, you don't start feeding it toxins or... Because the body starts moving stress again. You have to nurture that experience. And you have to focus on it. And you have to choose for it. And then it will become permanent. I don't think facets. I am that. Okay? But you're all not that yet. You are, but you don't know. You just need to keep being there, being there, being there. Yeah? And catching the dramas.
How to let go of resentment in a fast way. And if really resentment leaves at some point with the parents, for example.
You know, all children resent their parents. Why? I'll tell you why. Because when you're little, your parents are God. And then as you grow, you start to see their humanity. You start to judge it. You feel abandoned. You don't feel good enough. It's not important how great your parents are. There's always that aspect. Because they're human. And they have their little defects. If you call them defects. But you have to have the intention of letting that go. And you have to have the intention of seeing the things you judge is you. You are your parents. Don't ever forget that. I am my mother. I am my father. I am that. And once you can see that, once you can love yourself unconditionally, you can love them unconditionally. And you stop being a victim to them. You know, when I used to travel with my mother, and my mother was extremely complicated. I'm much more like my father. But, and I used to surrender to her and just love her unconditionally and just watch her, but without judgment. Why? Because I was empty. And you that's all you use your parents for, to empty. And to love them. And to appreciate them. But you go through a process. Yeah? You know, at some point you hate them. But you must unconditionally love them. And then you're loving yourself. So, really? The quicker you possibly can. Do that. Because it's for you. It's for you. Loving them's for you. And let go of your expectations. With yourself and with your parents. Because the problem with humans is we have a list. If you love me, you would do this, 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 this. And it's a fantasy.
I'm in a point of my process where I'm listening the same reflections.
What is that?
¿Qué es eso? That I'm very exigent with myself, that I have to appreciate myself more, that I have to take the decision of going inwards and to cut when the program activates, especially the fighting program. That I feel now very physical. Before it was more mental, and now I feel an energy that comes up and I want to go towards the outside.
You know, the thing with you, you're always fighting with your brothers, trying to prove that you're good enough. And you incorporate that in every aspect of your life. You think to win the argument validates you. And you see injustice. The world's unjust. Stop identifying. There's no justice. There's nothing. All there is your choice. You define yourself in each moment. How do I want to be? And you get to a point where you'll see the fighting doesn't serve. But you can do it until then. But you'll see the energy. That defense. the need to be right. But even if you're right, it doesn't make you happy because it's immature. But it's making you suffer. And it's a child that does that. Consciousness is there, just there. And that doesn't mean you don't speak your truth, but not from that energy, trying to validate yourself. Validate yourself through your beingness. Yes? That's all. And stop being so violent. You know, you're like a little pit bull terrier. Yeah. But it's just a defense you learned. Stop it. Or keep doing it. It's up to you.
And I would like to have more clarity. Because my idea is that I am wanting to give something I see. But I want to know the difference in between wanting to change the person, a person that I love, somebody of my family, or somebody I appreciate. And to know the difference in between controlling or giving from the heart. How can I know more clearly?
You know, the problem is you've got to stop knowing. When it comes from consciousness, it comes without thought. If you're thinking about it, it's never going to come from your heart. And you might have the best intention, but there's still image involved. Remember what we were saying about the dancing? You know, it has to just come. Everything has to be divine. And how is divinity? It's emptiness full of everything. And you can't analyze that. It's an experience. And practice makes perfect. Just keep talking. And they go, ah, you're in your head. Connect, cry, and do it again. But don't stop. Don't stop because of fear. Because that's image. It's a very subtle thing. It's like with a spiritual teacher. Some teachers have the answers to everything, and they're very complex and intricate, and it's all rubbish. It's just knowledge. It's not internal wisdom. Because consciousness is simple. It's so simple. It's just truth. Boom. But the energy, it's perfect. So just keep doing it till finally you give up, and then it will just flow. And I'll tell you another thing about humans. They don't get it straight away. I can repeat things 50 times for 20 years. And then finally, oh, I get it. But that can enlighten the world. That 1 second. So don't be impatient. Just keep. It won't take 20 years, don't worry.
My question is, in a meeting you were talking about the importance of feeling what's happening in our body. And my question is, which one is the importance of feeling all what happens in the body and to be connected and present.
If you're
with
so
that.
disconnected
Si estás tan desconectada
and you're having trouble connecting with
y
emotion,
estás teniendo dificultad conectando con emoción,
it's very important to be present with the
es
body,
superimportante estar presente en tu cuerpo.
because this is provoking the
Porque esto está
reactions.
provocando la reacción.
Okay, like she was
Por
saying,
ejemplo, como ella decía,
the fight
la pelea.
is
La
physical
pelea
now.
es física,
It's not just
no
mental.
solo mental.
She feels it.
La siente.
And that's when she needs to stop
Y es justamente ahí cuando tiene que parar
and put the love.
y poner el amor.
Okay, but for a lot of people,
Pero para muchas personas
they can't connect with their
no se
emotions.
llegan a conectar con su emoción.
And the physical
Y lo físico
is the sign
es la señal
that that's an emotion.
que esa es una emoción.
And that's where they need to put the
Y que
love.
es ahí donde tienen que poner
Or
la
the
emoción,
facet,
o la
no?
faceta.
Okay? So it's just about being very
Así
present.
que se trata de estar súper presentes.
I'll tell you something about
Te
enlightenment.
voy a decir algo sobre la iluminación.
You can't take anything to achieve it.
No podéis tomar nada para lograrlo.
You cannot control it.
No podéis controlarlo.
You just have to
Solo
open
tienes que abrir
to receive.
a recibir.
And there's no way you can know when,
Y no hay
how, or
modo de saber
why.
ni cuándo, ni cómo, ni por qué.
If you're being the actions of
Si vos estás haciendo
consciousness,
las acciones de la conciencia,
it's inevitable.
es inevitable.
But you can't control it.
Pero no se puede controlar.
And you can't create
Y no
it.
se puede crear.
That explosion
Esa explosión
comes from nothing.
viene de la nada.
When you least
Cuando
expect it.
menos lo esperas.
And there's no format.
Y no tiene formato.
You do the work,
Haces tu proceso, tu trabajo.
and then it's in an instant.
Después es en un instante.
Yeah.
A lo largo de mi proceso, Through my process have been happening que siento que todo se ha ido that I feel that everything enhances.
Mm.
Un dolor A pain
Mm.
hurts physically,
Mm.
hurts much more than when I'm in the world.
Mm.
I was able to appreciate how it dilutes like a bruise in my skin. The emotions also, and 360 more than outside. When I feel fear, I shake, my body shakes with the emotion of the cry. And when I feel joy or love, I feel everything super, super in the skin.
Sure.
Claro.
You know, when we're outside,
Cuando estamos en el mundo,
we are occupied.
estamos muy ocupados.
We're never present with our
Jamás
bodies.
estamos presentes en nuestro cuerpo.
We're always
Siempre
distracted.
estamos o distraídos.
We have our
Tenemos
addictions.
nuestras adicciones.
You know, I don't know if you've sat in a restaurant
No sé si se han sentado alguna vez en un restaurante
or anywhere
o
now.
en cualquier lugar ahora
Everyone's in the phone.
y todo el mundo está en su teléfono.
It's impressive.
Es
In the
impresionante.
airport,
En el aeropuerto,
everyone's in the phone.
todo el mundo está en el teléfono.
That's all they do.
Es lo único
I
que
don't know
hacen.
what we did before iPhones.
Yo antes de los teléfonos, de los iPhones, no sé qué hacíamos.
Before WhatsApp,
Antes del WhatsApp,
I don't think there was a life.
no creo que había vida.
Or Facebook or
O
Instagram
antes
or
del Facebook y Instagram.
all the time.
Todo el tiempo la gente
Why?
¿Por qué?
Because we're separate from
Porque
ourselves.
estamos separados de nosotros.
We're running away from
Estamos
ourselves.
escapándonos de nosotros.
Yes? Here,
Aquí,
you're with yourself.
ustedes están con ustedes mismos.
You're unifying.
Están unificados.
You're in your body.
Están en su cuerpo.
You're present with
Están
everything.
presentes con todo.
And everything's magnified.
Todo está aumentado.
That's why it's called
Por eso se llama
an intensive.
intensivo.
Now, when you go out in the
Para
world,
cuando salgan al mundo,
you're going to find more
van a encontrar
equilibrium,
como
no?
equilibrio.
It's not going to be so
No
extreme
va a ser tan extremo.
because there's two sides.
Porque va a haber dos lados.
You have the material and the
Tiene lo
spiritual,
material y lo
and you
espiritual.
become consciousness in
Y
action.
ustedes se van a tornar a conciencia en acción.
But this is a process of knowing
Pero
yourself
este es un proceso de autoconocimiento
completely
completamente
and healing the
y
body
sanar el cuerpo
and expanding the
y expandir la
consciousness
conciencia
and letting go of the
y
rubbish
dejar ir la basura
and
que tenía
detoxing.
y hacer todo su detox, desintoxicarse.
Okay, so
Entonces,
Obviously, everything's exaggerated. So you can grow. Yeah, and yes, it's like that. But what I find is once you become empty, you just enjoy. And if you have an emotion, it's big, but it's quick. You know, there's nothing blocking anything. If you have to cry, you cry. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're angry, it's a moment and then it goes. Like a child. And you'll know what's happening in your body. You feel all the vibration. My body upgrades every night. And I feel it. Everything leaves. I feel it. I don't remember feeling that before. Everything's different.
I had strongly reflection that I have to communicate more for everything. When I have stress or when I have good things that are happening to me. Can you tell me something about it?
Well, I think you just have to know yourself. I always say if you know an aspect of yourself that doesn't serve, you have to go in the other direction. Do it excessively until you come back to the middle. Like if you're overly emotional, you speak without filter, you always want to be the center of attention, go in the opposite direction. Start to listen, to be present, to give. If you're always giving and abandoning yourself, sounds familiar, Martina. Go in the opposite direction and push yourself. And then everything comes to the central point, no? Yes, the masculine and the feminine. It unites and becomes divine. There's always a significance. Masculine, feminine unite and becomes divine.
I see this programming where I do something and I see somebody doing something that can be better, an experience or something, and I doubt and think I want to do that. And I see something doesn't serve because this takes me away from myself, so I want.
Well, you know, there's always something else. And this is the ego. It's always looking externally for more, 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 more. And it's a place of escaping yourself. You know, if you enjoy each moment, you don't have that experience. If you're enjoying yourself, you don't have that experience. Because this comes from internal discontent. A place of abandoning yourself and suffering. There's always more in terms of the material. Always. You know, you buy a Rolls Royce and then someone buys a spaceship. You know, there's always more, more, more. Always. And it's endless. And it's eternal. But if you're complete within yourself, you start to simplify. You're not trying to fill an emptiness. So you're in the process now of comparison. Just let it go and start to be you. I know people with everything, but so rich, billionaires, but really And they're empty. Empty. And they know they're empty. That's the worst thing. They know they're not happy and they're always looking for more. So if you have everything and you're not living in appreciation, in love, in gratitude, it's what Jesus says. You're an empty vessel without love. So always come back to the love. The love. And if you have that abundance, give. And more abundance comes. But it has to come from the inside.
And I want to ask about that global citizen, because always inspire me to change the world since I was a child. I wanted the unity of all countries, all peoples. And I want to know how, from our own process and growth, we are contributing to the global change. Can you
You know,
talk?
the work we do here is the greatest work that exists. Because we're creating conscious humans. Conscious humans change the world. That's the only way to change the world. And I go to these events, and there's lots of talking. Same in the United Nations, same everywhere. And I talk about consciousness. That it's not about discrimination, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's not about changing the outside. It's about all humans taking responsibility. And it's the only way to change. Because there's one conscious mind. And just when we think we're changing, something extreme happens. You know, when we came out of COVID and we saw the changes in the planet, we started healing our internal relationships. And then Putin decides to go to war. It's always like that. Because there's always this duality. So it's only through the expansion of consciousness. And it's about changing your world, not the world. Because when you change your world, the world changes for you and for everyone you come into contact with.
How important is appreciation and gratitude for the inner space of consciousness to
You
grow?
know, it's vital because all of the creation lives in appreciation and gratitude because it's love. But we choose to focus on fear. We choose to focus on lack. And when we start to focus on praise, love, and gratitude, everything expands because all of creation vibrates in that. The low vibration of fear is still love, but it's low, it's slow, it's dense, it's crippling, and it doesn't create. You know, we think that fear creates fear, but if fear was created at the velocity of high-level consciousness, the world wouldn't exist. Wouldn't exist. Because you think of all your fears. How many of them actually come into realization? Not many, no? Not muchos. But if you're in high levels of consciousness, you don't want to be focusing on your fears because you're creating like this. When you're in dense energies, your fears are mundane. So it's very important. And that's why mechanically thinking the facets changes everything because of the vibration. Because those facets are the truth of enlightenment. Perfection, unconditional love, appreciation, abundance, unity. That's reality. What we're experiencing when we're in that place of fear is our reality, our ego's reality, not the reality of God, totality.
I have been observing a part of me that is super competitive, a need of getting before the bee in first row. I saw it in other companions also. It was annoying me, and I saw it was mine. And I want to know, because that part I don't like much, where it comes from and how to be able to move beyond.
I do that too. Yeah, I wouldn't worry. Are you suffering? Okay, I'll tell you what happens with you. You are anxious that you're going to miss out on something. And you just need to let that go. You have to embrace this moment. And it's just an idea in your head. And then it starts to activate your energy. And it's not real. Because we always have this idea that we have to get somewhere in a hurry. But if you're happy here, it doesn't matter. You know, I was with Maria Laura in Europe. And there's this ice cream shop in the Italian airport, no? And it's the best gelato in the mundo, huh? And there was a queue that you can't imagine. And I was at the back of the queue. And Maria Laura came to me. She said, "You really love ice cream, no?" She said, "Because I have never seen you stand in a queue in your life." So I surrendered to the moment. And I stood in the queue. And it was worth it, huh? Vale la pena. Yeah? So start to enjoy the moment more instead of the goal, of the fear of missing out. Yeah?
It's like all my fears, my doubts show up where I freeze and I see from comfort and avoid moving forward. Before, what I used to do, it was like kamikaze. I will just jump. I will jump onto that fear, whatever. And I would like to move forward, but from a more loving, soft place. Can you tell me something about it?
You know, we're always looking for more. More growth, more expansion. And in the beginning, it's more like sticks of dynamite. But once you get to a certain level of consciousness, it's easy to get comfortable. Like, it's okay. It's okay. But when you start to push yourself and to go deeper, you see that it's unlimited. It's not something you should ever stop. There's always more love, more expansion, more perfection. It's always growing because God's creating. It's constant, it's constant, it's constant. But you have to do it from a place of joy. Oh, I see something, I push through it. Not like a rhinoceros. Just move through lovingly. It has to be a nurturing energy, because that violent energy where you're judging yourself and pushing yourself, that doesn't serve. It has to be a flow. You know, water moves mountains, literally, but it's a constant flow. It's not dynamite, it's a constant flow, and you have to allow that. So you have to find that middle path, you know, from love, from love.
Very wonderful. And it happens with business. The responsibility of moving it forward is sometimes heavy, or the urgencies make me to get a little bit frantic in resolving things. And I want to do it, but with an inner softness, no, so much friction. Can you tell me
You
something
know, it's
about
hard
it?
when you're in business, no? Because you've got to resolve everything. And especially if you have employees, you have to move into action. There's no question. There is an aspect of urgency. And it's just about being very present. You know, not getting into panic. Like it's the end of the world. I've got to fix it now. Because it's never like that. It's a feeling you have that you're going to lose something. But it's not like that. So you have to make that beingness much more important. Not being passive, but not being frantic. So when you see that, oh, I've got to fix everything, okay, I move into action from this point. I'm proactive, but I'm not frantic. And it works much better, especially if you're dealing with people. Because if you come frantic, they start making mistakes. It's always like that. So you need to be here. You know, I feel with all of you, you have to appreciate more what you're doing and really focus on that. You know, it's easy to have a critical mind, but just remember, you don't like external criticism, no? But you're always criticizing yourselves. And you have to stop. You just stop. Put the facet. Don't listen. Because it's not you criticizing. Because you're already perfect. It's the judge in your head. And it's not real. Just stop feeding it. Just watch it. Go. There it goes again. There's my exigent mother. There's my absent father. Oh, that's my school teacher. Love creates me in my perfection. And once you start to do that, everything will change. And really, if you're doing this process, you're already exceptional. You gave 6 months of your lives to transform. Really, really appreciate that. Because it's phenomenal. Yeah. I feel privileged to have you here. When I came home now and saw how much you'd changed, I was beyond happy. And really I feel blessed to have this center and to have you people in my life. Really.
Come visit our webpage for books, movies, and our wonderful retreat centers. Isha's simple yet powerful system is transforming lives around the world.